This is a tale of mystery, death, healing, and sacrifice. The people of Zarzu died rapidly as they were being healed by the mysterious tears of the crying tree. They died of thirst in the past, because they had no water, but no one understood why they died even more rapidly after they had abundant water. In a quest to stop the mysterious deaths, emerged a brave girl, who was willing to go the length for her people. Do not skip even a second of this chilling tale, because what this little girl did would change their story forever. Please, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know what you think about this story in the comment below. It really means a lot to us. Now grab your popcorn and relax as the story begins. The sun over Zarzu had become an enemy. Day after day, its blazing heat burned the earth until cracks split the ground like the lines on an old man's palm. The once green farmlands had turned to dusty wastelands. Cattle lay lifeless under the shade of withered shrubs, and the smell of decay clung to the air like a curse. The people were thin, their lips cracked, their eyes dim with hopelessness. Every drop of water was precious, and yet it was never enough. Klartar, the daughter of a poor weaver, was one of the few in the village who still managed to smile despite the suffering. She had a gentle voice and a heart that could not ignore another's pain. But lately, the dryness in her throat was too much to bear. She lay on her mat one morning, weak and dizzy, listening to her mother cough in the next room. Her father's voice was hoarse as he told her to rest. "I can't," she whispered to herself, her voice breaking. "If I stay here, I will die." Without telling anyone, Klartar left the hut. Her bare feet kicked up dust as she walked aimlessly. The air was so dry it felt like it scratched her lungs. Eventually, she found herself on the lonely road outside the village, a path no one took anymore because it led nowhere but into emptiness. She stopped before a strange tree, tall, broad, and full of fresh green leaves, untouched by the drought. She had passed it many times in better years, always thinking it strange that it remained alive when all else died. Now, she thought it would be a good place to rest, maybe the last place she would ever rest. Klartar slumped at its base, her back against the cool bark. She closed her eyes and let her tears fall, the drops vanishing into the parched ground. "Let me die here," she murmured, "so no one will find me." Her breathing slowed, and the world faded to darkness. When she woke, she was lying in a shallow pool of clear, glistening water. She gasped, staring up at the tree. From its trunk, water trickled from tiny holes, running down the bark into the pool. It wasn't rain, it was as if the tree itself was weeping. She cupped her hands and drank greedily. The water was cool, sweeter than anything she had tasted in her life. Her strength returned instantly, and she stood, her mind racing. "I must tell them," she whispered. "I must tell everyone." She ran back to Zarzu, shouting at the top of her voice. "Water! There's water! The tree is crying!" The villagers thought she had gone mad, but when they saw her energy and the sparkle in her eyes, they followed her with buckets, bowls, and gourds. And there it was, the miracle. The tree cried endlessly, its tears pooling at its roots. The people fell to their knees, scooping and drinking. The old blind woman, Mama Tefi, drank, and her sight returned. Lame Medu staggered forward on twisted legs, drank, and stood upright for the first time in 15 years. Children with sores, men with coughs, women with fevers, all who drank were healed. News spread quickly. The king ordered a feast that very evening. Drums sounded, meat roasted, and the people danced under the stars, praising the gods for answering their prayers. Neighboring villages sent people to collect the water, and they too returned with healed bodies and joyful hearts. For a week, Zarzu was a place of song. But on the 7th day, the singing turned to wails. Mama Tefi's only son, her caretaker, dropped dead without warning. Medu's daughter, who had been his pride, passed in her sleep. In the neighboring village of Ovala, the chief's wife, recently healed, lost her youngest child. At first, the people thought it coincidence. But more deaths followed, each tied to a healed person. The king summoned his chiefs and wise men. They gathered in the council hall, faces grim. "This is not the blessing we thought it was," one elder said. "It is a blessing with a price," muttered another. "A price too high. Should we cut it down?" asked Chief Adu. The king sat back, eyes dark. "No good thing comes free, except from the Almighty. We must decide, do we keep the tree and accept the cost, or destroy it and return to our suffering?" Outside the hall, Klartar stood, listening. Her hands trembled. She had brought life to Zarzu, but had she also brought death? The king's voice rose again. "We will give ourselves until the next full moon. If the deaths continue, the tree will be destroyed. Until then, no one drinks from it without my command." Klartar knew she couldn't wait that long. Something inside told her the tree was not done with its secrets. That night, Klartar lay on her mat, staring at the cracked ceiling of her family's hut, her mind restless. Outside, the village was silent, but she could feel the weight of unease pressing over Zarzu like the heavy heat that refused to break. Her mother coughed softly in her sleep, and her father shifted on his mat, muttering under his breath. Klartar's throat tightened. She thought of the tree, the green leaves that danced even when the wind stood still, the cool bark against her back, the sweet water that had brought her back from the brink of death. But she also thought of Mama Tefi's wails, the way the old woman had beaten her chest until her voice broke, crying for the son she'd lost. She thought of Medu's hollow eyes as he stared at the empty corner where his daughter used to sit. And she thought of the other villagers, now avoiding her gaze as if she had become the cause of all this. She couldn't sleep. By midnight, she had made up her mind. She rose quietly, careful not to wake her parents, and slipped out into the night. The moon was thin and pale, and the stars above flickered like watchful eyes. She walked fast, dust rising with each step, until she reached the lonely road. The tree stood there in the distance, tall and impossibly alive, its leaves rustling softly though no wind touched the earth. As she approached, she saw the glistening lines of water still running from its trunk. She knelt and touched the pool at its base. "Why?" she whispered. "Why heal only to take?" The tree gave no answer. But then she heard it, a faint sound beneath the trickle of water. A low, mournful sob. She stepped back, heart racing. The sound wasn't coming from behind her. It was coming from the tree itself. A voice followed, so faint it was almost part of the wind. "They drank. They must pay." Klartar's breath caught. "Who are you?" The leaves rustled again, and the voice grew clearer, heavier, like it carried centuries of grief. "Once, I was a woman, beautiful, loved. But my people betrayed me. They took from me, and gave nothing in return. I died with my heart dry. The gods cursed them, and made me this, so that no healing would come without loss." Klartar's hands trembled. "Then, the ones who die. A life for a life," the voice whispered. "My tears can heal the body, but they demand another soul. Always. Forever." Klartar shook her head. "There must be a way to end this." "There is only one way," the tree said, its tone suddenly cold. "The one who awakened me must take my place." She froze. "Me?" "Yes, girl. You sat beneath me and shared your tears with mine. You stirred my spirit from its long sleep. If you wish to stop the deaths, you must bind yourself here. Your life will end, your spirit rooted, and the curse will fade." Her chest tightened. If she did this, she would never see her parents again, never laugh with her friends, never see the rains return. But if she didn't, more families would lose their loved ones. She thought of her mother's cough. She thought of the way her father looked at her, even in his weakness, like she was the one bright thing left in his world. The tree's voice deepened. Choose, Klartar. Your life, or theirs. Before she could speak, the sound of hurried footsteps broke the stillness. The king himself emerged from the shadows, flanked by 2 guards. His face was grim, but his eyes were fixed on her. So, he said, you know the truth too. Klartar's mouth went dry. You knew. I suspected, the king said, stepping closer to the pool. This tree is older than Zarzu. My grandfather told me stories of it, stories of healing and death. But I did not believe, until now. The tree's voice hummed in the air. A king's life would satisfy me too. The king's jaw tightened. If it will end the curse, then take me. Klartar's eyes widened. No. I found the tree. This is my burden. But the king shook his head. No ruler should watch his people die and do nothing. My death will mean something. The tree's branches shifted, water flowing faster now, like it was eager. Decide quickly, or another innocent will die before the dawn. Klartar's breath came fast. The king's eyes locked with hers, both of them knowing only one would walk away. She stepped forward, her decision burning in her chest. But the moment she opened her mouth to speak, the ground beneath them shuddered, and the water turned dark as blood. The tree whispered one final sentence that made Klartar's heart pound. It is too late. The choice has already been made. Klartar's knees nearly gave way as the darkened water swirled at the base of the tree, thick and slow like ink. The moonlight caught its surface, and in it, she thought she saw shapes, faces, faint and fleeting, like spirits trapped beneath the ripples. Her pulse thundered in her ears. What do you mean it's too late? She demanded, her voice trembling. The tree's voice was heavier now, deeper, as though it came from the depths of the earth itself. While you stood here, weighing your choice, the debt was claimed. The balance must always be kept. The king stepped forward sharply, his hand on his sword, though he knew steel could do nothing against it. Whose life have you taken? A shiver passed through the leaves, and the answer came like a sigh. The one whose cough you have prayed would stop, the one who gave you life. Klartar's heart clenched violently. No. Her feet splashed into the pool as she stepped closer to the trunk. No. Tell me you didn't. Tell me you didn't take my mother. The trade was fair, the tree said calmly. Your mother's illness was not of the drought. She was spared death once before, the day she drank from my tears. Now the price has been paid. The king's face darkened, his voice thick with fury. Monster! Call me what you wish, the tree replied, unbothered. Your people came to me for life, and I gave it. But all life comes from death. This is the law that made me, and the law I cannot break. Klartar's breath came in short, shallow gasps. Her mind was spinning, but somewhere deep inside, something hardened. She could still hear her mother's gentle laugh in her memory, see her hands working the loom, feel the way she would cup Klartar's face when she was a child. You said if I took your place, the curse would end, she said at last. Her voice was no longer trembling, it was steady. The king turned sharply to her. Girl, no. I have nothing left to lose now, she cut in, her eyes fixed on the tree. If my mother is gone, I will not let another child lose theirs. For the first time, the tree was silent. Then, in a voice that was almost respectful, it spoke. Step into the roots, and your spirit will bind to mine. Your body will wither, but you will feel the wind forever, and drink from the earth. The curse will break, and the water will run without a price. The king's jaw clenched. You will be trapped here, alone, forever. Klartar smiled faintly, though tears streaked her face. I won't be alone. My mother will be in the rains that fall. My father will live. Zarzu will live. Without waiting for another word, she stepped forward into the tangle of roots. They moved under her feet like living snakes, wrapping gently around her ankles, then her legs. The water rose up, cool and strangely soothing. Klartar, the king called, taking a step toward her, but she only looked back once, her eyes bright despite the tears. Tell them, she said softly, that no good thing is ever truly free, and tell them, I chose to give mine. The roots pulled her under. The water flashed with a sudden brilliance, then turned clear as crystal. The leaves above shimmered, and the first cool drops of rain in years began to fall, tapping gently on the cracked earth. The king stood there in silence, rain running down his face, unsure if it was water or his own tears. By morning, the whole village of Zarzu stood at the tree, weeping and rejoicing all at once. The water still flowed, and no one fell sick or died after drinking it. But at the base of the trunk, beneath the surface of the pool, they swore they could sometimes see a faint reflection, the face of a young girl with kind eyes, watching over them. And in the soft rustle of the leaves, they could hear her voice, whispering like the rain. Drink, live, and remember.